Aurelia is a JavaScript framework for building applications with HTML, but it's not like frameworks we've used in the past. Aurelia is designed using the latest specifications for JavaScript in the web, which means Aurelia takes advantage of ECMAScript 2015 features and even features beyond today's current specs. These features help to give us a framework that is in many ways simpler and more elegant compared to frameworks of the past. Since Aurelia builds on these cutting-edge features, we do need a few tools to help us deliver applications to the browser, and in this module I want to give you an overview of Aurelia, as well as cover the tools and the setup that we will use in this course. First, let me give you a quick example of what Aurelia can do. Aurelia is an open source framework. You can find all of the source code at Aurelia's homepage, github.com/Aurelia. And one of the repositories in this list is a simple application named App Contacts. You can find this repository, clone this repository, and there's just a few simple steps that you need to take to get this up and running. If you already have Node.js and some of the Node.js tools installed, there are even fewer steps that you have to follow. And this is what the application looks like once you get it up and running. First, there is a splash screen. It's very easy to show a splash screen to the user while your scripts and data are loaded for the application. In this case, we're loading a list of contacts. These contacts are displayed on the left-hand side of the screen. I can click one, and we've given Aurelia instructions to load a detail view of that particular contact on the right-hand side. Notice that the URL has changed. It's now #contact/1. This is something that will look very familiar if you've used any sort of JavaScript framework in the past. Aurelia will manage the browser history. That allows me to use the back and forward buttons. And I can configure Aurelia to take specific actions when it sees specific URLs up here. That's done through a routing component. Also notice there's a simple animation that displays at the top of the browser whenever I change the contact. And the way that we get this information onto the screen is to use data binding. So somewhere inside of a JavaScript object, I have a list of contacts. I'm binding them onto the screen. There's also two-way data binding. So if I want to edit Owen's first name because I think it's misspelled, then I can type in my changes and click save, and Owen is now updated. Let's take a quick peek at the code just to get some ideas of how this comes together. First, let's look at contactlist.html. This is an HTML template that we've given to Aurelia. You can think of it as the view in the model view model pattern. We've told Aurelia that it needs to repeat this list item once for each contact in a set of contacts, and that is what is stamping out our user interface here on the left. Inside of that list item, we're building an anchor tag. We're going to show the contact's first name, their last name, and their email address. So those are simple binding expressions that you see there. Let's also look at the view for showing the details of a contact. Again, we have a template, and now I have two-way data binding. Here's an input where we will show the user's first name and also allow the user to edit that first name. We're going to bind the value of this input to our view model's contact property that will have a first name property that we're using here. At the bottom of this template, I have the button to save changes, and when the user clicks on this, we're telling Aurelia to invoke a method on our model called save. Let's take a quick look at the view model. That would be contactdetail.js. So you can see there's a naming convention that is here, and that's something that we'll see in Aurelia time and time again. Aurelia favors convention over configuration. So if you just name things appropriately and put them in the right places, everything will work for you without having to write as much code as you might have with other frameworks. Here we're looking at some JavaScript that might seem unfamiliar if you're not up to date with the latest JavaScript specifications. ECMAScript 2015, which was previously called ECMAScript version 6. It introduces a module syntax, so I can import abstractions from other modules, and I can export abstractions from my JS file. So here we are exporting a view model class. Classes are also new in ECMAScript 2015. A class can have a constructor. Aurelia uses an inversion of control container to inject dependencies into my view model when it creates my view model. Aurelia will also automatically call an activate method and give me some information about the environment that I'm operating in. This allows my view model to initialize itself. In this case, my view model is going out to a web API, getting some details about that particular contact, and then creating that contact property that we're binding against from the HTML. Down here is the save method. So when I click the save button, it will invoke this logic to save my contact and then publish an event that the contact was updated. That's done through an event aggregator that Aurelia provides. So if all of this seems overwhelming, don't worry, we're going to go through all of these different pieces that we've talked about step by step and build our own sample application. But I did want to give you the quick overview of Aurelia so you could get a flavor for what this framework is about and the types of problems that it solves. We're trying to build an application for the browser that uses all the latest features of HTML and JavaScript. That's what Aurelia can help us do. We'll be looking at some of the tools that we can use with Aurelia to help us build those types of applications.